How to stop yo-yo dieting? Well, let me give you a working definition of what I refer to or how I define yo-yo dieting. Yo-yo dieting, a good example is you lose 20 pounds, you gain 30 back. You lose 30 pounds, you gain 40 back. And the thing about really weight loss in general is that if you give it enough time, once you've lost the weight, give it enough time and you'll always gain back what you lost, and probably more. And I think a lot of y'all will probably agree with that. So everybody out there that's struggled in the weight loss diet game over the years can probably attest to that. It's just if you do a graph here, you know, they lose 30, they gain 40 back. They lose 10, they gain 15 back. And they're zigzagging up and down, but if you look at a graph of you know, the last 5, 10, 20 years, they're heavier now than they were 5, 10 years ago. But it's been a lot of zigzagging, but they still end up at a higher weight. And that's what yo-yo dieting is. And how do you stop yo-yo dieting? How do you prevent yo-yo dieting? And the number one reason is that you can't sustain. People can't sustain. The chronic, overwhelming culprit of yo-yo dieting is the diet is not sustainable. Got it. Now, why isn't it sustainable? Why can't people sustain? Well, there's several reasons why, and I'm going to go over 5 major ones that we're going to touch on. So the first one is boredom. You're bored with the diet. You're tired of the diet. There's no variety, and that's a legitimate concern. And I get that a lot from people. I'm bored. It's repetitive, and I've heard people describe their diet that way. Even diets that might give you good weight loss results. So how do you overcome this, or how do you prevent that in the first place? Well, the way you prevent that is that every single day of the week, the food you eat should be different. Especially weightlifting days should be different from cardio days, and they should be different from rest days. All right, so every single day of the week, it should be different. And then every single month, you got what, 7 days in a week? And every one of those days should be different. And then at the end of the month, or after 4 weeks at the end of the month, you want to actually change the entire weekly program, if that makes sense. So there's got to be constant change, because people can get bored, they can get tired of it, it can seem repetitive. Number 2 reason that people can't sustain is they lack motivation. They lose motivation on their diet program, on their meal plan, and the way you prevent this is very simple, or is that you got to keep making progress. People that aren't motivated, it's always because they're not making progress. The person I've lost motivation because you're not making progress, okay? And the way you continually make progress is that you got to test results or gauge your progress, test progress monthly. Every month you got to test your weight. I like to test body or scale weight, and I like to test the waist measurements across the navel, because the navel doesn't move. You know, it's going to be in the same spot. So test that, and if the waist drops monthly, then you know you're making progress. And the scale weight isn't quite as accurate, but it's still important to test. And energy levels and hunger levels too. You know, you got to test those. So that's reason number 2. Reason number 3, and this is kind of 3 different things condensed into reason number 3, is hunger, cravings, and being tired or lack of energy. Okay, so let's pack all those 3 into those 3 bullet points into number 3. I'll repeat them: hunger, cravings, and being tired or low energy. Now let's unpack that. All right, now let's unfold that. And how do we prevent that? How do we solve that? Well, anytime you're living in hunger, cravings, and you're low energy, that indicates to me, bottom line, your intake is too low. Could be carbs, could be protein, could be probably not protein. It's usually carbs or fats. That's a whole different broadcast in and of itself, or different video. But your carbs are too low, your fats are too low, your calories are too low. Okay, and yeah, and when those things happen, it's very difficult to make progress. It's very difficult to overcome that. So number four reason is you're eating foods you don't like too often, and you're avoiding foods you prefer. You're never going to be able to sustain an eating program, a diet program, if you're eating foods that you dislike most of the time. All right, and you're much more likely to be able to sustain if you're avoiding foods you dislike most of the time. What's most of the time? 90%, probably 95%. Should you love every meal you eat? Probably not, but you should prefer 95% of the meals you eat. And there's enough variety of healthy, nutritious, quality foods out there if you're a vegan, if you're on, irrespective of your preferences, to where you can still make progress. Okay? So we want you eating foods you prefer 95% of the time and avoiding foods you dislike 95% of the time. You do that and you're much more likely to sustain. Reason number 5, and you guys aren't going to like this, but I'm going to tell you, reason number 5, your program has got to be customized for you. It's got to be designed for you. All right? Too many people follow a crude, archaic program with just kind of baseline numbers, baseline percentages. And it's got to be tailored and crafted based off your age, your gender, your height, your weight, your somatotype, your waist measurement, your food preferences. We talked about that, just touched on that, your likes, your dislikes, any medications you're on, any ailments you have, any diseases you have. It's got to be based off all that. And if it's not, you won't sustain. Now someone's going to say, but wait, I just lost 20 pounds. Well, right. And that's the thing about it. Anybody watching this right now could lose 20 pounds in 2 to 3 months. But we don't want to just lose it and gain it back. We want to lose it and keep it off. Okay? And when you adhere to the 5 principles that I just covered here in this video, that's how you keep it off. That's how you sustain. Guys, learn how to sustain your program, avoid yo-yo dieting, and keep making progress. Wet Wolf Training, Wet Wolf Nutrition, signing out.